Amunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupat Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Ashtotara Shata Shishimat His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantara Shimam Bhagavatam Ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to Shishi Guru and Shiguranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Summon Bonus, Chapter 87, Prayers by the Personified Vedas, text number 43. Ityashesha samam naya puranopanishat rasha samudrita purva jatair vyomajanair mahatmabhi Ityashesha samannaya puranopanishat rasha samudrita purva jatair vyomajanair mahatmabhi Ityashesha samannaya puranopanishat rasa samudrita purva jatair vyomajanair mahatmabhi. Please chant. Ityashesha samannaya
Samudrita Bhakti Yomachanaya Bhakti
Iti, thus, Ashesha, of all, Samanaya, of, the Vedas, Purana, the Puranas, Upanishad, comprising the confidential mystery, Rasaha, the nectar, Samudritaha, the still, Purva, in the distant past, Jatai, by those who were born, Vyoma, in the higher regions of the universe, Janai, who travel, Mahatmabihi, saintly persons. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. There is no purport in this verse, although there was some changes that were happening some time ago in which they needed to be a purport, but there's no purport on this one. So I'm going to read the purport of Srila Jiva Goswami for all of you. The translation is, thus the ancient saints who travel in the upper heavens distill the nectarian and confidential essence of all the Vedas and Puranas. Srila Jiva Goswami comments, since the Brahmanas were born in the very beginning, they were the best. They wandered about with no attachment. They had generous minds. The best, unattached sages with generous minds took out the essence completely from the Shrutis study under a guru. This shows their qualification. Samannaya indicates a scripture in general. Puranas indicates itihasas also. This indicates karma and upasana. Upanishads indicates jnana in works like Chandogya and Bhagavad Gita. Purana is placed in the middle of the compound to indicate the equality of Puranas with Vedas. Yat Brahman iti hasham Puranani. A scripture consists of Brahmanas, itihasas, and Puranas. This is for the Sadhya Yopadesha Shruti. Evam pa are asya mahato bhutasya nishwa shitan eta jadrik vedo yajurveda samavedo atarbangirisha itihasham puranam. The Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva Vedas, the Itihasas and Puranas emanating from the breathing of the Lord. Brihat Aranyaka Upanishad 4.4.10. Rig Vedam Bhagavo Dyemi, Yajur Vedam Sama Vedam Atharvanan Chaturtham Itihasham Puranam Panchaman Vedanam Vedam. I have learned the Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva Vedas, as well as Itihasas and Puranas, which are called the fifth Veda, Chandogya Upanishad. Itihasha Puranani Panchamo Vedya Uchyate. The Itihasas and Puranas are called the fifth Veda. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.4.20. Everyone is qualified for these works, as in the case of the Lord's names, because of the strength, the rule. Varashashu Rata Karo Nin Adadite. Quote, the carpenter should light the sacrificial fires in the monsoon season. The rasa of the words refers to the conclusion which is filled with bhakti to the Lord. Pibata Bhagavan Rasam. Drink the rasa of Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.3. The rasa is of three types: in single statement, in connected statement, and in a whole session of work. The first two types has been shown. The last is in the 6 parts. Upakramo pasamharat abhyaso purvato phalam ata bhado papati cha linganta parya nirnaye. Initial statement, conclusion, repetition, uniqueness of the object, gain from the object, praise of the object, and proofs are the topics used to discern the meaning of a passage. Since this passage is being concluded, it's very nice too. So I repeat that. Initial statement. I think the initial statement was about the question that was asked by Maharaj Parikshit to Sukadev Goswami about the Vedas. Conclusion. So now we're seeing the conclusion of this. Repetition. Uniqueness of the object. Gain of the object. Praise of the object. And proof are the topics used to discern the meaning of a passage. The topic is declared by the verses under discussion, by deducing, how you say deducing one meaning of the famous and lesser known Shrutis, revealing the meaning of pranava and explaining topics like creation and destructions which are present from the beginning to the end of the Vedas. Thus, the meaning of the first prayer, starting with Jaya Jaya, victory, you, unconqueror one, by your very nature you are perfectly full in all powers, verse 14, which is Upakrama. And the last prayer, starting with Dyu Pataya, the Devatas cannot reach the end of your glories, verse 41, which is the Upasamhara, are the same. Sayat Ayaya Twayam, the Jiva contacts matter by Maya, verse 38, and other verses, the Abhyasa, repetition, Anucharen Nigama, the Vedas confirm these, verse 14, and Srutaya Tvayihi Palanti, the Vedas find success in you, verse 41, are the Apuvarta, showing unique qualities. na paralisanti kechit. So some do not care for liberation. Verse 21. Show the pala result. Twan akaranam swarat. You are with material senses and independent. Verse 28. Shows atharva, praise. Dritaya iva shashan swashanti asubrita. They're like bellows, breathing if they are not devotees. Verse 17 shows upapati, proof. All this indicates Bhagavan alone, which means Krishna, according to previous explanations. And then Srila Sanatana Goswami has a very short one. I'll read it too. Srila Sanatana Goswami comments, thus the sweetest element of the Upanishads, rasa, was manifested completely or extracted or received by the eldest sons of Brahma, the Lord's avatars, who can go anywhere being unattracted by anything, and who had siddhis, and who were generous by nature. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanam Jnana Shalakaya Chakshur Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Ramapada Swami Iti Namine. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirveshesha Shunyavadi Pashatyade Satarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the narration is concluding, and it is explained here. This is Sri Naranayan Rishi, Sri Narayan Rishi, explaining to Narada Muni about this event or this situation that happened in Janaloka, and how these great sages who inhabit this higher planet were completely satisfied and mesmerized by the narration of these prayers by the personified Vedas. This place, Janaloka, is a very special planet. It is explained that there's 14 planetary systems in the whole universe. 7 that are the lower planetary systems, and 7 that are the higher planetary systems. So the 7 are, you start with the earthly realm, that is called Bhuloka, and then over Bhuloka is Bhubhargaloka. And as far as I remember, the Bhubhargaloka is the place where all the different planets are, is between Earth and the pole star, and all these different, in these different regions is specifically is explained that It's a region where you can find Rakshasas and also ghosts. And also it's the regions where there is the planets of the Pitris, of the ancestors. And the planet of the ancestors is the region where Lord Yamaraj resign and rules. So, as far as understand, it's in the region of Pluto. So all these different planets are there. This is the region between Earth and heaven. So there is this regions called Bhubharga Loka. And then there's Swarga Loka, which is where all the so many millions, I think 3 millions and something demigods reside. And then above that is Maharloka. Maharloka is where the great rishis and munis reside. And then above that, so then you have 4. So the 5th is Janaloka. And Janaloka is a place where liberated souls, perfected beings, inhabit. And it's a place that is described as a place of in which divine knowledge is pretty much highlighted. The end of all knowledge is there. And this is a place that is inhabited by perfected sages. And specifically is the residence of sages like the 4 Kumaras. That's where they reside. And then other great personalities like them that are perfected jnanis. Above Janaloka is Tapaloka. That's the 6th. Tapaloka is where the perfected yogis. Now is, great yogis that are perfected and enter into the connection with the super soul. And above that, there is Satyaloka, the residence of Lord Brahma. So these 3 upper ones, Jnana, Tapa, and Satya, they are planets that are not destroyed when the regular devastation happens. And in general, when the end of the whole cosmic manifestation is finished, then they take spiritual forms and go back home, back to God. The residence of these 3 regions. I'm gonna read some explanation of this region by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This is from the Jaiva Dharma, a book by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So explain a little bit about this whole cosmic arrangement. And in one sense, I'm saying this just to get a picture of the environment that is there, that, as is explained here, give the qualification of these great personalities to actually fully take the nectar and the essence of the Vedas, of their teachings and their purpose. So it is explained here that for them, they took the nectar, they took the rasa, and they're rasikas. So they're able to take that essence and then completely realize it. And they are the teachers of this essential, this essential teachings of the Vedas. Therefore, the four Kumaras are among the Mahajans in the universe, the 12 Mahajans, but they're also the heads of one of the Sampradayas of Lord Vishnu. So there's four heads: Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lakshmi Devi, and the four Kumaras. So they're top. And but their qualification is explained also that they learned that from their spiritual master. So the environment is very important. So here's what it says about Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes about Jana Loka. Jana Loka, a planet situated above Mahar Loka, it is obtained by the Naishtika Brahmacharis. Naishtika Brahmacharis are those who accept a lifelong vow of celibacy, unlike the Upa-Kurbana Brahmacharis, who enter the Grihastha ashram after completing their studies. At the time of the partial devastation of the universe, occurring at the end of Brahma's day, the three worlds, Bhu, Bhuva, and Swarga, are consumed by flames. Although Maharloka, the planet immediately above Swarga, is not destroyed, the residents of Maharloka are afflicted by the heat which is raging below, and thus they go to Janaloka. The residents of Janaloka are not troubled by the flames which destroy the lower planets at that time, at the time of partial annihilation. Yet they do experience unease when witnessing the devastation that takes place on the planets beneath them. As noted in the earlier segments, we find numerous differences between available translations of Jaima Dharma. Now, this is a comment of the author of this article. Okay, this is from chapter 12 of the Jaiva Dharma. Nitya Dharma o Sadhana, eternal religion and devotional service in practice, is the title of that. So he explains also here the Jana Loka. Above Indra Loka, in successions are the planets of Mahar Loka, Jana Loka, Tapa Loka, and finally Brahma Loka, the highest planet in the material universe. The Shastra give fewer descriptions of Mahar Loka and Jana Loka than of the celestial pleasures of Indra Loka, and fewer descriptions still of Tapa Loka and Brahma Loka. In contrast, the sensual pleasures of this earth, Burloka, is extremely gross. The rule is that the higher the planetary systems, the more subtle are the senses and their objects. This is the only difference between these realms. Otherwise, the happiness available on all these planets is merely the pleasure of the senses, and there is no happiness other than this. Spiritual happiness, Chikshuka, is absent in all these planets, for the happiness found in such places is related to the subtle body, which consists of the mind, intelligence, and ego, and it is merely a semblance of pure consciousness. The enjoyment of all these type of pleasures are called bhukti, and the sadhana for the jivas trapped in the cycle of karma consists of the activities they adopt to fulfill the aspirations of bhukti. Now, Srila Prabhupada has an article called The Ascendance to the Personal World of Krishna. And in that article, he gives a detailed descriptions of the type of worship that will result in one going to Janaloka or similar planets or the higher planets. And he explains that, quoting the Yanti Deva, Brata Devan Pitri Jantim Priti Brataha Bhutani Janti Bhuteya Yanti Mat Yayino Pimam. Bhagavad Gita. Some people argue that you can worship the Supreme in whatever form you please and still achieve perfection. This is the Mayavadi theory. God is actually impersonal, but because we cannot worship or meditate upon something impersonal, let us imagine some form of God and meditate upon that. The impersonalist yogi have a similar idea. They put a circular design in front of themselves and concentrate upon that. So here Krishna refutes that theory. The impersonal conception of the Supreme, imagining some form of God, these are not the ways of approaching God. He says clearly, those who are worshipping the demigods will go to the demigods. The demigods have their various places in the material world. There are 7 higher planetary systems and 7 lower planetary systems. We're living on Earth in the planetary system called Burloka, and there are many planets in the system. And above Burloka is Bhubargaloka, Swargaloka, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, Brahmaloka. There are so many planets with various kinds of living entities and various kinds of comforts. And some of these planets, they are very highly intelligent beings, much more intelligent than human beings, who are called demigods. Those who are almost God. So here Krishna says that those who are worshipping the demigods will go to the planets of the demigods. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the gods will, and the spirits will take birth among such beings, and those who worship me live with me. So, in the case that we're hearing now, Prabhupada first, and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually, makes a very strong case that all these planets, they are still within the material creation, and therefore the happiness that these different planets provides is temporary, is not substantial, still material. The difference between is from gross to subtle. The higher you go, the subtle the type of experiences are. But they're all temporary. They're not something that is going to give. It's not the experience of a spiritual happiness. It's not a spiritual, still material. And Krishna says that in the Bhagavad Gita, from the lower planetary system to the higher planetary systems, they're all places of birth and death. So that's an understanding from the beginning, and especially for those who are absorbed in the ritualistic practices of karma kanda, that is, with the idea that you can elevate yourself to these higher regions to have a much greater type of facility and enjoyment. Similarly, that is for impersonalists, for jnanis, and for yogis who don't have a conception of the personality of Godhead and understand that by the process of jnana or the process of yoga, you can elevate yourself to those higher regions like Maharloka, Jnanaloka, and Tapaloka, and even Satyaloka. But this, as Krishna explained, is not a place for experiencing the essence, for experiencing the highest truth. The process of experiencing the highest truth is loving devotional service to the personality of Godhead. And when anyone is able to start or to connect to this process, then you have the possibility of actually achieving the full perfection. Now, in the case of these sages, headed by the four Kumaras, and in this case Sanandana Kumar, who is the head of the Kumaras, who is instructing all others in these teachings of the Vedas, these prayers by the personified Vedas. They are perfected devotees. They are fully taking shelter of the Bhagavad Dharma. And because they're fully taking shelter with that, then their happiness is perfectly spiritual. Now, in this environment, that although the environment in itself is not a spiritual, is not fully spiritual, is more of goodness, is not Suddha Sattva, is Sattva. But because the perfect, the type of qualification that these munis and these sages have, they're naturally unable to receive when under the shelter of their spiritual master, in this case, Sanandana Kumar, has been teaching this. And they are actually able to receive it and immediately absorb it. So this is, then it is explained that this is a planet, Jnanaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka, where perfected beings reside. And therefore, those who reach those regions, they have almost guaranteed that they will actually be able to also reach those higher levels of devotion. Therefore, it's explained that when you reach Brahmaloka, and the same is for these planets, then at the end, you go back home, back to Godhead. So it is there. So it's the process itself, even in those realms, is the same type of process that is available throughout the universe. And especially here in our realm, it's the same process is available. The process of Bhagavad Dharma and pure devotional service. And if one is able to learn this from a spiritual master and being able to apply and absorb, then one also can achieve these higher stages of perfection, become a pure devotee. So this is a very important principle. So I like to highlight that. And I also going to try to go through a little bit the amazing commentary of Srila Jiva Goswami in terms of understanding how these great personalities are able to absorb the essence. The essence is called here rasa. And in the Bhagavatam, in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, Srila Vyasadeva established that only those rasikas, or devotees who have this type of taste, are able to relish. The Bhagavatam is for rasika devotees, for those who are able to relish. So Srila Vyasadeva is inviting all devotees who relish. Here is this Bhagavatam, who is the mature fruit of the Vedas. And the essence of the sweetness of the Bhagavatam is even becoming even sweeter because it's narrated by Sukadev Goswami. So come and relish. Come and relish a beautiful Bhagavatam. And so here, Srila Jiva Goswami is explaining how when these great sages, they drink the rasa of the Bhagavatam, that rasa is drinked in three forms. There's three types. And so the single statement. So I'm assuming we can read just one verse on a statement. And then there's rasa. And then connected statements, like my wife used to do arrange the classes until she was sort of knocked down. But when she used to arrange the classes, that's what's her, am I right? That's what her meditation, the second of the type of rasas. She will say, she will spend time doing the connected statements. So you have sessions that presents a particular idea and highlight a particular idea, and they're connected. And they expand on they present you a more bigger picture of a principle, of a aspect of the culture of devotional service, things like that. So you have the single statement, you have a connected statement, several of them, and then the third one is the whole session. So you have the chapter. And in Srila Prabhupada, following the, the standard established by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he gave a summary in the beginning of the chapter, of the whole chapter. So, so the whole session. Now, Srila Jiva Goswami breaks down this whole session thing in these 6 parts. So when we study the whole session, then this is a very nice meditation. So the initial statement. So I guess some serious students of the Bhagavatam, you break it down. So Srila Jiva Goswami gave us a little bit of a breakdown of these prayers of the Vedas. So the initial statement. So the Vedas gave an initial statement. An initial statement of their prayers. So I read the 6. Initial statement, conclusion, repetition, uniqueness of the object, gain from the object, praise of the object, and proof. These are the topics. So proof. So the initial statement. Okay. I know I read this, but I think it's so relevant that I'm just gonna read it carefully, and also for the benefit of Sunil Madhava. You didn't hear this, but this is quite something. So let's go carefully with it. So this is Srila Jiva Goswami breaking down the 6 parts of how to drink the rasa of a whole session, of a chapter in this case. So the initial statement, conclusion, repetition, uniqueness of the object, gain from the object, praise of the object, and proof. Srila Jiva Goswami writes, the topic is declared by the verses under discussion, by deducing one meaning of the famous and lesser known Shrutis, revealing the meaning of pranava, and explaining topics like creation and destructions which are present in the beginning and the end of the Vedas. So this is, a general thing that are going to be covered in this prayer. So the Shrutis reveal the meaning of the pranava. The pranava is like the invocation, where is a sound vibration with the whole meaning of the Vedas. Is in general we call the pranava is the omkara. So the whole meaning of the Vedas is revealed in the pranava, explaining topics like creation and destruction, which are present in the beginning of the Vedas. So the meanings of the first prayer is starting with Jaya Jaya. So this is the prayer that was given in verse 14, the very first one. Victory, you, unconqueror one, by your very nature, you are perfectly full in all powers, which is Upakrama. And the last verse, the last prayer, starting with Dupataya, the Devatas cannot reach the end of your glories. Verse 41, which is the Upasamhara, are the same. So you start by establishing the position of the Lord and glorifying the Lord. So the initial statement is in glorification of the Lord, unconquerable by the nature of your perfectly full, by your very nature, you're perfectly full in all powers. Srila Vyasadeva also, the initial statement of the Bhagavatam, if you look at the Bhagavatam as a whole, the initial statement is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It's a pranava. And then he goes to establish that Krishna is the source of the whole creation, and he is the absolute truth. That's the initial statement, and from there, boom, you go. And the final statement is explained that it's about the same. It's sort of going full circle. That the devatas cannot reach the end of your glories. So again, establishing the position of the Supreme Lord. The other verses, so you have the initial statement and the conclusion, and they both, basically establish the supremacy of the Lord. And then when it comes to repetition, then Srila Jiva Goswami quotes verse number 38, and other verses are abhyasa, repetition. In verse number 38, he says, the Jiva contacts matter by Maya. Yes, so there are several verses in which, there is a lot of emphasis in the influence that material nature have on conditioned souls. And we remember that, how without taking shelter of the Lord it's impossible. All these different type of things. It's a strong repetition of a message. And that is emphasizing the importance of taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. And the Shrutis and the Vedas are basically repeating this message very, very much. The uniqueness of the object, Srila Jiva Goswami find success in you. Yes. He explained that in verse 14 and 14, there is something that basically highlights that the Vedas find success in you. The Vedas confirms this. We can understand that the unique quality of these prayers is emphasizing how the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord is the ultimate, is obtaining the highest position. And the Vedas are basically meant to help us understand that. Krishna says something similar. By the Vedas, Krishna is to be known. So establishing his unique qualities. And then the results that would gain from the object. What is the result? that the devotees, he quotes verse 21, devotees, they don't care about liberation. So it's not about liberation, it's not about obtaining knowledge, it's not about any of that. The devotees only care about serving the Lord with love and devotion. And then praises, you are with material senses and independent. Text 28 shows praise. And when he talks to prove, then he say that they, meaning those who are not devotees, they're like bellows breathing. So anyway, this can be, the idea is that we have a whole body and we can study like that. I mean, Srila Jiva Goswami just gave us a very overview of an analysis of this session. But obviously you can go really deeper, and I'm assuming when we read Srila Jiva Goswami's Sandarbhas, there is a very, very detailed breakdown of this type of study. But it's fantastic to actually take notes as we analyze and we study and we learn about these verses. And in one sense, we've been taught here how we can drink the nectar of the Srimad Bhagavatam and the teachings of the Shrutis and the Vedas. And following in the footsteps of these great sages, how we can extract that and apply it to our life. Any comments or questions?
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Nice. I was just mentioning, you're mentioning that this rasa, this nectar is so beautiful, so nice. But in the first, I think in the first or second verse, Vyasji is mentioning that nimasara. Nimasara. So has to be free from envious.
Yeah.
From any person or any living entity.
Yeah.
When one reaches to that position, then you can taste this rasa. If that thing is not there, then it's very difficult, because that's beyond, that's why it's kicked out all other religion from Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
So the person is free from anger, greed, lust, all that, including, plus he says nimasra, means must be free from any enviousness in the heart.
Yeah,
has to be there.
That's a very important thing to keep in mind. And sometimes, we think that we are devotees, so we are automatically rasikas, and we are aspiring devotees. So we're still dealing with these miseries and with these anarthas. And the process of devotional service, the beauty is explained. I think it was covered in the verse yesterday, maybe, I don't know. That is the means and is the object and is the means. So the process in itself is the object. So when you reach there, so we see here, the sages like Sanandana, it's the four Kumaras. They're perfected beings, and they're still relishing the process. So that's the end. That's their Vedantis. Their the end of all knowledge is there. For us, it's a means. It's a process to help us get to the object right there. So it's the same. The process is to, we learn that the process is to hear Srimbatan Swakata Krishna, Punyan Shavana Kirtana. Nashta Praesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. By hearing, by constantly hearing this Bhagavatam and absorbing oneself, then we can get there. Lord Brahma says that in his prayers that we can patiently go through all the reactions and all the things that our condition will bring, patiently tolerating the results of our actions, but absorbs oneself in mind, words, and body in the narrations of the Bhagavatam. And when we do that, the mercy of the Lord is our right. We actually will receive the mercy of the Lord. It's a means to receive the mercy of the Lord. So we learn that. So yeah, it's so important to have that in mind, that we have to understand, have a very objective understanding that I'm not there. We hear these people, they're there. We hear in the narration of these great personalities who are there. And I'm still been dealing with the plunderers that are sort of hiding through the highway of devotional service, trying to, that was one class, the plunderers. They're trying to hijack our path. So yeah, important. We have to kick out that stuff. And the process of kicking out that stuff is the process of sadhana bhakti and anartha nivriti, bhajana kriya anartha nivriti. So yeah, thanks for that comment. Any other comment, question? Yeah.
The breakdown that you did of the residents of the different planets and that it's a kind of elevated or increasing elevated spiritual understanding, so the comprehension is and experience is more and more subtle.
Switch it that, point the microphone that way, yeah.
So the fact that Srila Jiva Goswami is doing this breakdown of those 26 prayers of the personified Vedas, that there's the praise, the gaining, the repetition, and as you pointed out right in the beginning and the end, the whole pranab that's present there. So that kind of breakdown, it must mean that I'm thinking that on those high planetary systems, and you were highlighting Janaloka because that's where the narration of the personified Vedas prayers happened. The capacity to hear and do the breakdown and understand very objectively must be very pronounced.
Yeah, especially in that planet, Janaloka, which is, that's where the top intellectuals of the universe are.
So that was very fascinating to me because in our case, we have to hear, and it takes a bit of time to actually take that step back and be able to be objective and see it more objectively. Of course, Srila Jiva Goswami, and that's what the Acharyas do, they allow for that. So when you're actually reading the commentary, it allows you to take that step back, even if you yourself in your own processing haven't come to that. But I was making the connection that, say, indeed in the more elevated regions, that objectivity must be automatically present. So very extraordinary.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Grantara Shrimad Bhagavatam.